Most people with IBD are stuck managing symptoms. I'm here to help you reverse them. This podcast gets real about what's actually driving gut disease and what it takes to heal the underlying causes of gut issues. I'm Dr. Rachel Brown, a medically trained doctor turned integrative medicine and applied quantum biology practitioner. Let's get to work. So just a quick reminder, this podcast is for education only. It's not medical advice. If you've got IBD or another condition, always seek advice from a trusted healthcare professional. When people think of IBD, they think of symptoms, pain, urgency, and bleeding. But what's really happening under the surface is an overactive immune system. Well, is it an overactive immune system, or can we go deeper? At the centre of it all is a powerful group of immune cells called TH17 cells, T helper 17 cells. You can think of these as the fire starters of your immune system. They're meant to protect you from infections, but in IBD they go too far, lighting fires of inflammation that damage your gut lining. Now, normally your body has a way to keep this in balance. There's another group of cells called regulatory T cells, or what I call the fire extinguishers. These are the peacekeepers of your immune system. They step in when things get too heated. They calm the immune response and help your gut lining repair. But here's a problem. In IBD, these calming cells are either missing or not working properly. So what you're left with is a gut on fire and no way to put it out. That's a huge part of why the inflammation keeps coming back. Now, if TH17 cells are the accelerators of inflammation, then T regulatory cells, or TREGs, are the brakes. These TREGs keep the immune system in check. They calm inflammation, and they stop your immune system from going rogue and attacking your own tissues. Autoimmunity, that's what happens when the brakes fail. And so here's the connection. TREGs rely on healthy mitochondria to function. These are like the batteries or powerhouses of the cell, although they do so much more than that. And unlike TH17 cells that run on sugar through glycolysis, TREGs run on something called oxidative phosphorylation. That means like mitochondrial energy production using fats. So when your mitochondria start to decline with age, which they do, TREGs lose their edge. They become sluggish, less suppressive, and more likely to let inflammation chaos run wild. And here's the critical part. Inflammatory TH17 and TH1 cells are no longer held in check. The balance tips, and autoimmune responses become more likely. Mitochondrial dysfunction also leads to the release of mitochondrial DNA and something called reactive oxygen species, both seen by the immune system as danger signals. These signals activate pattern recognition receptors called TLRs, and the NLRP3 inflammasome. That's a mouthful, but this is something which fuels chronic low-grade inflammation, a phenomenon often called inflammaging. So not only do dysfunctional mitochondria weaken immune regulation, they actively fan the flames of inflammation. This is one reason we see a rise in autoimmune disease, inflammatory flare-ups, and immune dysfunction in midlife and beyond, because our mitochondria tend to function less well as we age. And it's not just about energy. Mitochondria also help regulate calcium and this reactive oxygen species signaling, key pathways for T cell communication and activation. And when that goes out of sync, immune control unravels even further. So what's the bottom line here? Mitochondrial decline doesn't just affect energy, it rewires the immune system. TREGs falter, TH17 and TH1 dominate, and the stage is set for autoimmunity. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Your gut bacteria, the trillions of microbes living inside your gut, are the ones often calling the shots. Some types of bacteria actually increase the number of fire starter cells, pushing your immune system into overdrive. Other types of bacteria boost the calming fire extinguisher cells and help things settle down. So the balance of your gut bacteria are also involved in the decision about whether you stay inflamed or start healing. And the gut microbiome and our mitochondria talk to each other. They communicate. This is how it's all connected. Now, a bit of bad news again before we go on to the good. TH17 cells don't just cause inflammation. They can also lead to scarring in the gut wall. This is called fibrosis, and over time it makes your bowel stiff and narrowed. That's why so many people with Crohn's end up with strictures, blockages, and surgery. This isn't just about symptoms, it's about long-term damage. Now you might think, okay, let's just block these inflammatory signals and inflammatory cells with medication. And that's been tried. Drugs that block these chemicals these cells release. But in Crohn's disease, those drugs haven't worked, and in some cases they've made things worse. Because the problem isn't just the chemicals, it's the environment they're in. If the gut is toxic, inflamed and out of balance, and you have mitochondrial dysfunction, even normal immune responses can become harmful. So the answer isn't to silence the immune system, it's to change the environment it's reacting to. Here's what actually helps calm things down. Improving your mitochondrial function. Using the right foods to support healing, a whole food diet. Natural compounds like turmeric and omega-3s from whole food sources can be helpful. Getting enough sleep, sunlight, and daily rhythm. And even your body's own bile acids. Yes, those help regulate inflammation too. This isn't about suppressing the immune system, it's about rebalancing it. And it works when you approach it at the root. IBD isn't just a random gut problem, it's what happens when your microbiome, immune system, and energy systems all fall out of sync. And to overcome symptoms, you don't just need another diet. You need a strategy that calms the immune fire and rebuilds the cells from the ground up. Clean the gut, rebuild the bacteria, reprogram the immune system, restore your cellular energy, and that's how we stop the cycle, and that's what we do inside my program. If this episode made you think differently, then good, I'm glad. The goal isn't just to inform you, it's to empower you to act. If you're serious about reversing IBD and rebuilding your health from the ground up, check the show notes to learn more about working with me. Knowing what to do isn't always enough. This can be complex, it's layered, and it's personal. That's why people join the program, for the support, the clarity, and the accountability to actually follow through. And if you found this content valuable, make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the insights that could change everything. Thanks for listening. Now go and do something your future self will thank you for.